Pa-da-da-da-da, pa-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Welcome back once again to another episode of Long Story Short. And so many things have happened in this time since the last episode. But my friends, that is what we're here for. To share with you on our take on what's currently happening and occurring across the globe or right here at home in our beautiful Twin Island state of Trinidad and Tobago. And one of the major stories that is dominating across the entire globe at this point in time, this specific point in time, is that sub that went down to the Titanic wreckage and now is completely missing. Very sad state of affairs indeed, as 5 people are on board the sub. And they were deep sea explorers going in search of many things that we really don't know exactly what they were looking for at this moment. It could be many things, indeed. It could have just been to go and see the Titanic itself at the bottom of the ocean. It could have been that the Little Mermaid inspired them to go above and beyond in search of some mermaids, some sirens, or different things. But every great exploration always has some sort of story that can impact the joy that is supposed to come from it. And at this moment, they're missing. And we don't know where they are or what's happening. And that brings a little bit of sadness indeed. Any loss of life that could have occurred, which is a high possibility at this stage, according to the Coast Guard, is something that will move us within our hearts to feel the depths of sadness. And I tell you all, although I watch this and I feel for them, billions of dollars on board that ship based on what the net worth of these individuals were, I cannot help but think of the migrant and refugee population that is lost at sea every single year. So many people go out in search of a better life, in search of exploration themselves. Some sort of exploration that is formed out of desperation. These migrants and refugees sail across the 7 seas, all across the globe, searching for a better life, and many are lost to the sea. The waves take them, the ocean grabs them up, and the search and rescue efforts that are put in towards finding these individuals are nowhere near the value that has been ascribed to the search for this missing sub. Now, I'm all on board of going after people and searching for people and looking for those who are missing. But I cannot help but look at the disparity in the resources that are being allocated towards this specific search and rescue mission. And one of the major differences that we're seeing in this specific instance is, of course, the money that is in the bank account. But let's take a look right now at what's happening with that missing sub.
US and Canadian Coast Guards have launched a search and rescue mission after a tourist submersible lost contact on its way down to the Titanic shipwreck in the North Atlantic. The vehicle was taken 600 kilometres from the Canadian province of Newfoundland to the site of the sunken remains of the British passenger ship, which is nearly 4,000 metres beneath the surface. The company that operates the vessel says there are 5 people on board and a few days of life support. Colin Baker has more on what could have happened to the submarine.
The Titanic shipwreck is very deep, located nearly 4 kilometers beneath the sea surface. These are the latest images we have of the ship, which was actually mapped by a private company called Magellan just this year. It's 600 kilometers away from the coast of Canada, and there are a few scenarios of what might have happened to the Titan submersible after it descended to the wreckage and lost communication with the surface crew. In one, it floats back to the surface, but it loses communication and is reported to be sealed from the outside, so it would need to be spotted to be rescued. In another, it's either mid-ocean or on the sea floor. And finding an object that small from that distance requires specialized tools. Sonar beacons provide acoustic pings that bounce off of hard objects underwater, but their accuracy at such great depths is limited, so multiple sound frequencies are used. Remote-operated vehicles will help, but they have to be deployed to the site, and timing is crucial. The crew only has a few days' worth of air.
On June 20th, 2023, we celebrated Migrant and Refugee Day, World Migrant and Refugee Day. And we need to take a deep dive and look at how migrants and refugees are treated across the entire globe. Many leave because of certain injustices that are happening within their own land, while others are suffering because of the climate change situation across the entire globe. They go out in search of a better life. It's not their fault that they're swept up or taken under by the oceans and by the currents. But search and rescue efforts, specifically for those who exist below a certain level of wealth, are poor, sometimes even futile. And I think it really requires us as a humanity to take a look at how we treat different people based on different circumstances. Now, I do pray that they find this missing sub and bring them back, and hopefully there was something or some situation that allowed for them to be brought back safely. And I do respect those who are explorers and go to the depths of the ocean in search of something that we may never ever see in our entire lives, or try to push science forward in a better way by showing that they can push the boundaries. But at some point in time, we need to take a step back and just look and see how different people are treated based on their circumstances. And that's not just limited to this specific situation, but to many situations across the globe, where those who are the wealthiest are given some special treatment at the highest level, while those who exist below the poverty line or exist in poverty are treated as second-class citizens. My friends, my heart really goes out to the family and to the friends of those on board that sub. But equally so, my heart also goes out to the migrants and refugees who are lost at sea, expecting that someone will come in search of them, but there's no search and rescue efforts for them. They are left and swept away. And while we're on the conversation of just the ocean and the sea and all these different things, I can't help but think about how climate change is affecting us right here in Trinidad and Tobago, and where we have the creation of some oceans and seas, some people might say. Because what exactly do you call a flooded sea? Or a flooded city, rather. Some people might say a flooded city is called an emergent sea. Because some of the cities in Trinidad and Tobago at this specific point, whenever rain falls too heavy, becomes just like an ocean, and you had to take a boat and put it out there. And just take a look at this situation right now. Well, that occurs every time it floods in Trinidad and Tobago. Take a look at some of these clips here.
A tractor is used to rescue residents from their homes flooded after 2 days of torrential showers. A dinghy was used to rescue these two WASA workers. They were among several residents who had to be removed from their homes in Debe, Penal, Barako, and Woodland.
We've been experiencing floods since Brett in 2017, and I would think that this is the worst. It's worse because more areas are flooded. They are flooded even deeper than would normally be flooded, and it is still very early in the rainy season.
Even with the riverine flood alert upgraded to an orange level, some residents still braved the floods.
It's not one time, it's over 8-9 times I get flooded.
There's a flood on the main road, a flood on the main road, and I feel I want a little clip of that. Bring that there. A flood. Beautiful. That's exactly what it is, a flood on the main road, a flood on almost every single main road, especially in the south region and portion of Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not sure exactly what's happening down there, but every time there's heavy rainfall, south seems to be affected the most. And if you ever drive through areas like Barako and Penal, especially Barako, there's some back roads inside there where there's some deep, deep potholes. So I'm telling you, you may be driving across there in those flood waters, and soon your car become like a boat. And you're just sailing across. And we just keep on sailing and sailing and sailing. And you're hoping and you're hoping and you're hoping, because I've seen so many cars sink in recent times in Trinidad and Tobago, becoming themselves like a submarine under the flood waters. In fact, I believe that most insurance companies probably have a big insurance policy payout for flooded cars. And I hope you're getting that in your coverage now. There's real pressure with these floods. And climate change is a very real situation that's impacting us. That is why we're seeing the weather patterns changing so much across the entire globe, not only here in Trinidad and Tobago with our rainfall that sometimes is so unexpected, and then hot sun the next day that blazing and sunburn, and you need some sunblock to put all over because the sun just getting hotter and hotter. But also in other parts of the globe where it's traditionally very cold, now there are heat waves happening. Heat waves all across Europe taking over. I mean, it probably works in their benefit since the price of gas has gone so high that the price of electricity and heating, indoor heating and everything has just gone exponentially out of a zone where people could afford to pay for it in Europe. But here in Trinidad and Tobago, we're seeing that floods are happening all over. Every time it rains, and it really has us questioning what we need to do better with our infrastructure. Sometimes some things are done without the necessary approvals. People will just build a house anywhere, on farmlands or anywhere else. And the impact of climate change is now showing up with or in combination with our bad habits that we see. Now, I'm not blaming people, of course. The onus is on us to some extent, but our systems need to be reevaluated as well. We can't just be billing everywhere and anywhere. You can walk somewhere, and then you will see the next week, it's nothing there initially, and then the next week somebody build up a big structure. And you wonder, are the approvals there for that? Have we really assessed how different things that we do impacts how we live now? People still throw in the fridge and the stove and rubbish and all kind of other things into the ocean, into the rivers, and just causing more and more issues because they just back up. Fridge in the water, stove in the water, the fishes having a party underneath there, pressure in the dance, them could open up fridge and light stove and all kind of thing, the amount of stove and thing that have underneath there. A reevaluation and a reassessment of ourselves needs to occur as well. I remember recently watching a documentary or having a conversation with someone from out in the Pacific region where right now there are islands sinking like Vanuatu. And people are saying that the Pacific region is the start, but if we are not cautious over here, in the Caribbean region and in the Caribbean Sea where everything is a paradise, but right now it's like a pair of dice because we're real gambling with everything that we're doing. They say if we are not cautious, we could end up in the same situation as the Pacific. And therefore, our consciousness needs to be revisited and revised. As we see the climate change situation continuing to spin and spin and spin out of control, and even though we're making small efforts and different countries are making small efforts, and the bigger countries definitely have a bigger part to play in the overall circumstance and situation, we ourselves need to be prepared here in small island developing states. Are we prepared? Are we thinking? Hurricane season is upon us in the Caribbean, and I don't know if we're ready to even take on that or consider that, especially since economies, if any economy is to be devastated or any country is to be devastated right now, the economy itself cannot recover. All these are questions that we need to be asking ourselves. And while we ponder upon this, I think we should head to a break.
Did you tell your hubby about it, first of all?
I did.
When you were telling him, did you think that he was going to think differently of you or less of you?
I thought exactly that.
In case you've missed it, it's an encore of Nicole Larson Live. Relive some of the riveting experiences of everyday people who candidly shared with me their stories, life challenges, stories of hope, and eventual victories.
Because he is not like man, because he is the God. It is a promise that we can hold on to.
The report came back that she had two properly...
Eric, behave yourself, no man.
Two properly working kidneys.
An encore of Nicole Larson Live, living in victory every day. Airing on WESN, the content capital, on Sunday, July 2nd at 8 p.m. Don't you miss it.
And welcome back. I have just one question for you. What do you call a car park that is flooded? A carpool. My friends, even in the times of floods, we see some heroes coming forward, and unsung heroes that might never be recognized at any other point in time. And one specific hero that came out of the flooding situation in Trinidad and Tobago in June is this individual right here. And I want you all to take a look at this clip because I salute him indeed.
All right, so for the record, tell us your full name.
Name is Narine Rajaram. I live at Rochelle Road in Barakpur.
Mr. Ramlan, can you tell us what happened yesterday?
Yesterday, we had transported about a dozen or two children who were sitting the Cape and the CXC examination. The area had been flooded because of heavy rainfall overnight and the day before. In the Barakpur area, like between 3 to 4 feet of water, or even more in some of the areas. The smaller vehicles were unable to pass. So I take the opportunity to transport these kids to the examination room.
And you would have done the same again this morning?
Yeah, we had done a couple children who were assigned to the Parvati Girls College and Shiva Boys in Pinal. They also get stranded in the Pinal area, and that's in like Kitwaru Trace and well, the traffic in necessary news was terrible. Because everybody, like the Sutit Trace, they were flooded out, all the traffic run on the SSA renewed. So we had the opportunity to take some of these this morning.
So you've been using your company vehicle?
Yeah, this is one of the company vehicles. That it's a vehicle that is higher than the ordinary pickup trucks. And we were able to maneuver a lot of the floods.
You know, we've seen in the past there were several instances where people were swept away. Some people even lost their lives driving through floodwaters. Were you concerned about your safety?
Well, I mean, I risked for myself, but then for the benefit of humanity, I say, you know, let me take this opportunity to help our fellow citizens.
And Mr. Rajaram, you're a private contractor. I mean, so I know you said you're doing this just to help. So you're not being paid for it. Do you think that more private companies should try to assist in times like these?
Yeah, voluntary work is also part of our society, you know, and it's good that more can come out and help, because the government, they are doing their best. You know, the flooding area is not their fault or anyone's fault. It's an act of God, and it's that we the citizens have to do our part to the garbage and things that they dump fall into the roadway in the rivers. The authority, they do the cleaning up. So we also, there are many of us during the crop time, we do land preparation and so on. Many of us fill our lots and land and without proper engineering. This causes, if you notice it, like June, July, after the dry season where people fill their land, it causes the flood. So, I mean, each one of us have to be responsible also.
Is there anything else that you would like to add, Mr. Rajaram?
Well, I want to thank you all for highlighting this project and hope that it will happen again, and wish that the kids be successful in their examination.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
There are people across our country who are doing good work. CXC students will need to reach their schools because, as you all would have known, or maybe you don't know, CSEC did not put a stop to any examinations or anything based on the floods, but they went ahead with it. And therefore, there were a lot of students who were unable to write exams in some circumstances. But in this specific situation, we had an individual who took it upon himself to transport students from one location to their school to sit their exams, and that is what we're talking about. Salute him indeed. Because we need more people like that who would make sacrifices, jump in a little backhoe or something and drive through the floodwaters to get students to where they need to be, or to get people to where they need to be in emergencies. And as we continue to look at flooding across our land and different other emergencies that are arising, people like this are who we need coming to the fore. But my friends, as we talk about climate change and economies and different things happening, there's another situation that's happening on the other side of the globe that I've been looking at and paying close attention to. And that is the rising cost of living. Homelessness has increased significantly since the pandemic has been declared officially over. There are a lot of people who are living in all sorts of different situations, and right now in France, there are even protests against the living situations. Take a look at this clip right here.
A skip is a British term for dumpster. They're basically just big metal boxes for waste. It is where I live full time. I know there's some people that think, oh, you must have a house down the road. I mean, I wish I did. It's both where I live and an art project, and it was a way in which I could kind of do both and use my living situation almost as a protest about the rising cost of living, rental crisis, and how absurd the situation has become.
One man's trash is definitely another man's treasure, but I ain't seen no treasure there. I don't know if me personally could be so desperate that I'll live in a dumpster. I mean, what are your views when you open up? It's just landfills all over? Or you just open up and you see the rubbish outside your door as a rubbish garden? I mean, maybe if you're an artist, you could make some new age art out of that. But even self, that is an extreme level of positivity there. I cannot imagine myself just moving into the labas and opening up and my pets are the kobos. Or liming with the cockroaches and rats, because indeed, that is what I see when I think about a landfill and a dumpster. And this just goes to show the desperation of people generally. Young people are finding it even more difficult to afford housing. I was watching the real estate market in Trinidad and Tobago just recently, and I'm wondering how a person who's just graduated or who is working for a fairly small salary, and I mean, we've been seeing certain movements by trade unions to increase salaries across Trinidad and Tobago, but I don't even know if that's significant enough to be able to afford any kind of property or house. So you're just looking at people who will be unable to afford their own living circumstances and situations, and therefore they remain at home, stressing out their parents in some instances. People in their 30s, 40s, it's difficult to move out. You might have to move back in with the rising costs and inflation that's occurring right now in Trinidad and Tobago and across the entire globe. I just hope that none of you all take it upon yourselves to go and live in the dumpster. I just feel as if there's more complications with that than successes. Sometimes we do some real strange things, whether it be Gen Zers or millennials, some real strange things, and we need to admit it. We need to admit it. Living in a dumpster is one of those strange things. And my friends, right now, while I think about that, and I think about having to go and take out the rubbish when I reach home, because I might have forgotten to do that, I think we should cut to a break.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Nevertheless, no matter how bleak, how dismal, how dark you see the world, I find it to be a place of much light and joy still. And I enjoy being alive. I enjoy being a human on this planet called Earth. And one of the many joys that we have of the human experience is, of course, the ability to interact, communicate, lime, and fet. And one big fet just recently happened called Stink and Dotty. And of course, something very interesting happened inside there as well. Take a look at this next clip right now. My friends, fetting is an experience, but getting the opportunity to see a live fight is always another experience as well. And right now in studio, I've brought in one of the biggest boxing coaches across the entire of Penal, just the Penal district. I don't think from anywhere else but there. You know, he's number one.
The mama gives them, the mama gives them, the mama gives them.
Yeah, I understand that you box in DB.
Well, of course, DB, Penal, and Environs.
And Environs.
Yes.
Congratulations. Thank you for being here with us.
That's
What
no problem at all.
do you thought about that fight there?
That wasn't Stink and Dirty, you know. That was Queen's Park Festival Arena.
Yeah.
That was Floyd Mayweather and Ronnie Pacquiao. I can't even say Manny Pacquiao because it was Swappy and it was Trinidad Killer, and Trinidad Killer was running Killer. He just started running. Swappy Pelton jab like it's doi. Swappy chased him up on top of a platform, and if you see Killer go and flip over a thing, and he certainly had to come down from there. You understand? I watch Swappy had to chase him like a serious jab. Watch now. It reminds me of a walk about 10 years ago when I was a boxer myself. As a matter of fact, I feel I have to call Marvin Davis right now and organize a match. For those of you that don't know who Marvin Davis is, that is the Swappy.
The Swappy himself. Yeah. You know, some people might say we're moving with the bucket, but clearly we're not doing that again. This time we're moving with the boxing gloves in the arena. Is this a rise? Is this something? What's going on here?
No, I just feel like I was playing a video game. You know, I'm a nice boxing.
So you were in Stink and Dirty, that's what I understand.
Yes.
Do you think that this is a new thing that we're going to see? Celebrity boxing matches in fets?
Well, it was certainly a point of entertainment. So long as it doesn't cross the boundary of violence, I would love to see 2 or 3 of that on stage, get some other artists involved, you know. Yeah, let me just hope it's the Trinidad artists, because that might have a next level of violence inside of there.
So let me ask you a question here. Who are 2 local celebrities that you think should be in the next boxing match?
To be quite candid, something I always wanted to see, Darrion. Iowa George and Talpri. You wanna know why?
Why?
2 jab masters. Jab. Trinidad jab, Greendot jab their spelling like this and that. That's a boxing match I wanna see right now. Well, it might be jab alone. It might be jab and whip.
Jab and whip.
Yeah.
Water, boy. Water in that answer as
well.
Definitely
will it be a slippery arena.
Yeah, dangerous indeed. So just one last thing before you go. I know that you're a boxing expert down in Penal.
Yes.
You're a man, you handle real boxing in your life, right?
Real boxing.
Right.
All kind of boxing.
So if you could just show me some moves, some skill sets that you have there.
Okay.
And if you could name the move.
This one is called the 2 jab combo. It goes with the sound effect bap bap. You understand?
No, I don't. But go ahead. Next one.
Now, I'm short of tools right now, but there's one called the plan-ass combo. 2 jab and plan. You understand?
Right.
Yeah. So let me just imagine I have a device, a cutlass in my hand. 2 jab, plan-ass. You understand?
Right.
So that's one of the moves.
That's legal?
That, well, only in DB.
Okay.
Restricted to DB alone.
Cool.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And what's your last signature move? What's your number 1 signature move?
Last signature move is called 3 jab with deed. Hit them at 3 jab, bap, bap, bap. Run away with the deed for the land. Call that George.
That song very dangerous. I don't even want to get into the specifics of that one at all. My friends, that has been it here on Long Story Short. Thanks to our number 1 boxing coach there who has joined us in studio. And as we prepare to sign out, I just want to remind you all, that fighting is not it, violence is not it. Let me promote some peace, unless it's in the sport. The sport is real good vibes. Let me keep it there and keep a more peaceful and calm attitude outside of that. This has been Long Story Short, where we take long stories and make them short, or short stories and make them long. We just flip the thing upside down and spin it all around. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here. My name is Darrion, Theatrics, Narine, and it's been a joy being your host.